drinking water. And man, has water been a hot button issue. Utah and Florida becoming the first two states to ban fluoride from its public water. This comes after a growing debate about the safety, the need for water fluoridation. Joining us now is CEO and co-founder of Flow Water, Razgaitis, to break this all down. Good to see you, Raz. Okay, let's talk about this. We talked recently about fluoride. I think people are like, okay, get your tinfoil hat out, you know, making jokes. But you're the water guy. You understand this better than most of us. What's going on with fluoride, and why did Utah and Florida take that big leap?
Well, these are states that are really deciding that consumers have a right to choice in what goes in their water. And I really think that fluoride is just the tip of the spear. I mean, there's over 50,000 chemicals in use in the United States today. Fewer than 100 of these are regulated by the Safe Drinking Water Act of 1974. And so fluoride is really just the tip of the spear, where we're taking back our food systems, our fitness, and also our water. And we're in the middle of a water revolution right now. And so this is a hot topic. It's being considered in over 150 communities across the United States today about whether fluoride should be added to drinking water or it should be up to parents and consumers' choice.
So people who are pro-fluoride in the water will argue and say it is nominal. It's very limited. It's nothing that's going to affect your health. You need it for your tooth enamel. Our toothpaste has fluoride. Pediatric dentists say that maybe with a little rice grain of toothpaste, you need to apply it to the molars of your child. How does one combat that argument?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I think there's a lot of validity to it. The difference is that the same fluoride that was applied in the early 40s, 50s, and the last century to our water infrastructure does not mean that it's the same safe mechanism that's right for today's marketplace as well as based on today's knowledge. And so the data shows that adding fluoride to things like toothpaste, mouth rinses, topical fluoride treatments that are called a fluoride veneer are as or more effective than just adding fluoride into your drinking water. The other issue with adding fluoride into your drinking water is the fluoride that was added in the 40s and 50s, and most people don't know this, but it was a byproduct of aluminum smelting. So it was waste that was really, at some point, many people believed that it was toxic waste. And then it got sold, diluted, put into our water system. And so that has then been replaced since the 40s and 50s, in the 70s and 80s by phosphates and fertilizers. And so these are not regulated by the FDA. It's not pharmaceutical grade. So I think a lot of people are asking rightful questions, which is what is in our drinking water and why can't we not just have pure, clean drinking water based on the fundamental fact that everyone has a right to clean drinking water that they can trust. And so I think fluoride is the first of many, many issues. The reality is if we're talking about removing fluoride in our water, we need to be thinking about marginalized populations and how do we make sure that those marginalized populations or lower socioeconomic populations and the kids that particularly that live in those, how do they get access to dental care and fluoridated treatments? But that's a separate part of the discussion that should be considered when we're removing it from our drinking water.
Well, to your point, I think Flint, Michigan was the beginning for critical mass to gain understanding of we have a dire situation with our water, obviously a separate issue, not fluoride, but lead in water. I want to ask you just flat out, because it seems like I know you sell a product to help clean our water, but you've done a lot of studies on this. You've researched a lot of water. Is our drinking water from, you know, our jurisdictions, is it safe as we stand right now in 2025?
Well, a couple points that I'll make. One is I believe today we are drinking a chemical cocktail whenever we drink out of the tap, and that is a huge problem. And I'll give you a few data points for that. You mentioned Flint, Michigan. People think of Flint as the beginning and the end of the problem sometimes, and a tragic problem, but the reality is 56% of Americans over the last 5 years have been drinking water with lead in it, and still to this day, 50 years later, 5 presidents that were Republicans, 4 that were Democrats, we still do not have a federal mandate around lead testing, and that's just one data point. 200 million Americans drinking water with PFAS in it. That's known as a forever chemical. Once you get it into your system, it's very difficult to get out. The third point that I'll make actually has to do with my day job, which is I'm here because I am an evangelist. I'm a normal guy that has set a mission towards helping restore America's drinking water with a team of 80, 100 other people, but we don't even sell anything for the home. So what I am evangelizing is that we drink clean water and that we restore America's tap water by investing in policy, regulatory reform, infrastructure. But consumers need to take matters into their own hands today, get a reverse osmosis system that can sit on the countertop. You can get it through many different retailers for a very affordable price, and you can eliminate this risk of this chemical cocktail that we're drinking in the form of thousands of different chemicals. And you can go to drinkflowwater.com, and I'll just mention this, where you can go, there's a free database that's powered by an environmental working group that's a nonprofit, and you can type in your zip code and see what's a portion of the chemical cocktail in your backyard and your drinking water, and it'll make you want to reach for something that's filtered or purified, and drinking bottled water isn't the answer.
Raz, you and I could sit here and talk about this all day long because I'm really, really interested. I think you're incredibly knowledgeable. We don't have to agree on all points, but I think knowledge is power, and just hearing people who have studied these things, I think it's eye-opening to your point. Before we go, our general fridge filters, I know Brita, these are popular mass-produced filters. Is that enough to give us some layer of protection when we're drinking our water, or do we have to go full throttle reverse osmosis? That's the only thing that'll get these things out of our current water.
Yeah, I think my answer on that is some is better than nothing, right? So if you have a single stage carbon filter, which is commonly in a fridge or on a countertop or one of those water pitchers from one of the companies that you mentioned, that's better than nothing. What it will not do, though, is it will not extract the chemical cocktail that is in the drinking water, PFAS, microplastics, not most microplastics or all of them, nanoplastics, pharmaceuticals, herbicides, pesticides. And so really what you need is a reverse osmosis system, which purifies down to 0.0001 microns. That means it extracts almost everything out of that drinking water and is leaving with pure H2O. That's what I would recommend for people in their consumer households. That's the best thing, but something is better than nothing. For sure. So
we got to leave it at that. Last time I said I'll bring you back to talk about fluoride. Next time we're talking reverse osmosis, because that's a whole different ball game, and I think a lot of people need to hear about that. It's always good to have you, my friend.
Marina, it's great to see you. Thanks so much.